OK, well, let's take a closer look at that by-election in Newark, and it's always been a bit different. The Nottinghamshire town held out for the King in a civil war against the forces of Parliament, but it now seems that the parliamentarians are causing havoc there all over again. Well, the resignation of Patrick Mercer means there'll now be a by-election in Newark on June the 5th. It's probably one the Conservatives could well do without, but on paper at least it shouldn't be a problem for them. Newark is a very safe Tory seat. At the last election, they had a majority of 16,000, polling just under 27,600 votes. Labour got just under 11,500, the Lib Dems just over 10,000, and UKIP were a distant fourth with under 2,000. But of course, UKIP are riding high in the opinion polls, so could this be their moment for a parliamentary breakthrough? Des Coleman's been to Newark to assess the mood.
Well, there aren't too many of these in the East Midlands, and yet when you see one, you know you're in a safe Conservative seat. But the town has had a Labour MP and even a Liberal MP in the past. 4 times Prime Minister William Gladstone was MP here way back in the 19th century. But let's take a tour around Newark today. Of course, the marketplace is a great melting pot for Newark, so what's the feeling here?
Well, I've always voted Conservative ever since I started voting, but I know it sounds awful, but there's not a bloke-type man among them, is there?
What do you mean by that?
Well, they don't look very manly.
What about Nigel Farage?
Oh, no. Sorry, no.
I think British jobs for British people, local jobs for people in Newark. Yeah. Not outside parties, it's only moved over here for a year or less.
Sounds like a UKIP line. Are you going to vote them?
Possibly, yes. Possibly.
Who would you consider voting for?
Like I said, I think I'm with him, UKIP, yeah, definitely.
Now we've come out of the town centre to a Labour area. Let's see what the people round here have to say. Are there any of the parties that you think are there can help?
No, mate, none. I would say none, because they all promise you, but they never turn up with it, do they?
The people that are running the country at the moment, and generally speaking, are just looking after the higher people, the people on the ground floor that matter, that in a sense create things. They're just getting kicked in the teeth all the time.
But the focus will be whether Conservative areas like here in Collingham will turn to UKIP. Do you think Collingham is ready for UKIP?
No, I don't think anyone should be ready for UKIP.
Why?
Because I don't like what he stands for.
And we'd like to know your opinions on UKIP. Would you change your vote and vote for UKIP?
Not at the moment. I don't think I know enough about it. I think my husband would kill me if I didn't vote Tory as well.
Does the name Nigel Farage excite you?
Who? Never heard of him. No.
OK.
Well, joining us to discuss all that is Jason Zadrozny, a Lib Dem councillor in Nottinghamshire, and coincidentally the party's candidate against Gloria for the Ashfield seat. Welcome to you. But Nigel, first, some encouraging signs out in the villages around Newark-on-Trent that the Tory vote is holding up, but it's not going to be easy, is it? It's going to be a hard fight.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a safe seat in a by-election. I think it's very important that we get out there and give a very strong message about the things the government have achieved and show that actually it is important to vote Conservative in this by-election if you want an effective MP that can deliver in the country's interests and not make a protest vote for a party that can't achieve any of that.
What's Labour's strategy here, hoping that the Conservative vote gets split and you can basically carve it up through the middle?
Well, it's the 44th safest Conservative seat in the country, so actually I'd be surprised that you're saying might be a struggle to hold on. Listen, we'll be talking about the things which form the core of Labour's strategy at the next election. It's about the many families that are still struggling. It's about help with childcare. It's about freezing energy bills. It's about getting young people back to work. Those are the things that we want to do to change Britain, and that will be our message in Newark.
And you'll be hoping you'll pick up some of their votes, won't you?
We will be fighting for those votes. We've got a great candidate, but we are, we're aware that it's one of the safest Tory seats in Britain too.
OK, well, Jason, you have held this seat before, but that was way back when, back in the late 1880s, something like that?
A little while ago, yes, yeah. But of course, as Nigel says, in a by-election, anything can happen, and who knows? I think both parties are going to struggle, all big parties are, because this is the sort of event that doesn't bathe anybody in glory, quite frankly. And in parts of Newark, we've been very popular for a long time. I think we've run Southwell Town Council for longer than I've been alive, almost. So if we can show what we've done locally...
The polls aren't looking great, let's be honest, for you guys.
Well, I think at the moment people are concentrating on the European election. That's why there's this UKIP bubble. But really, it's going to come down to who's best to represent Newark. I think it'll be a very large local election.
Is it going to come down to also, Nigel, how much damage UKIP can cause the Conservatives?
Well, we have a European election coming 2 weeks before that by-election. I think we normally see in European elections people go and vote on the European issue, and they clearly, generally, Eurosceptic in that election. So this is the peak time for UKIP. But this is a parliamentary by-election for a Westminster seat where we run the country, where we deal with the important messages about how we fix the economy, how we create more jobs, how we improve the health service, how we improve schools. They aren't things UKIP can do. People need to vote in the parliamentary by-election on who they think is best to run the country.
So you don't think UKIP are going to do well there?
Well, I'm sure UKIP will do better than they did in 2010. I suspect both Gloria and I dream of a 16,000 majority, and wondering how you cope with that. But yeah, I think we'll put the work in, and I'm hopeful we can hold that seat. Yes.
What do you think, Gloria, about UKIP? Will they damage the Conservative vote?
I mean, I'm not a psophologist, but I tell you what's really harmful and kind of hurtful and worrying, and something that all of us in politics have to think about. When you hear people saying, I think UKIP is as much about an anti-politics feel as it is about anything else. And I think that's a big wake-up call to all politicians, because actually we can't just sit there and fight amongst each other for a dwindling...
what people were saying in Newark about
and we don't want to fight for a dwindling number of votes amongst us. We want people to vote, and that means that we have to change ourselves too.
Well, there was a sense, wasn't there, that they feel like there's no other option. You parties aren't giving them anything, so they have to look elsewhere.
Well, I think UKIP's the party of sound bites at the moment, and they're pretty much the party of fear. So everything that's negative and pessimistic that they want to talk about plays to those fears amongst people. Gloria's right. There's a dwindling number of people that are looking at the main parties, but there's still 60% of those at the moment. Because it's a European election, it's almost licensing people to think about another party, and they're holding their nose and voting for UKIP no matter what they really feel. I think in the parliamentary by-election and in coming up to the 2015 general election, people will come home to the parties that they really feel represent
So will
them.
the Lib Dems be fighting this then?
Well, we fight every election, but I don't know what the people of Newark feel. I've got some friends there, and they're through and through Liberals, and there are a few left even in Newark. But I think if we can get the message out of what we've done locally, where we've got councillors, we'll hold on to a good vote share.
And Nigel, let's face it, this is a by-election you could well do without. Wouldn't it have been better if he'd stayed in his seat until a better time for the Tories?
No, he couldn't stay in the seat. I mean, it's quite right that he's gone, and that we have a by-election. It would be completely wrong for him to hang on in some strange attempt to have party interest. No, I think that would have been completely wrong. The people of Newark deserve an MP.
But if you hold on to this seat, no one's going to be that impressed. But of course, if you lose it, it really doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
Well, I mean clearly not. I mean, that's the issue with a by-election in a safe seat. But I mean, this was Newark was a seat taken by Labour in '97. To hear Labour practically write the seat off now shows how far they've got to go.
Boundaries have changed since then, and you well know it's a totally different seat.
So are you going to be campaigning there?
Of course. Of course, we'll all be campaigning. We've got a really good candidate, but we've got, you've got to be realistic as well. It is one of the safest Tory seats in the country.
Does that mean that you're not really going to fight hard for it then? You don't think there's much chance?
Of course, that's why we've got a great young candidate, Michael Payne. Really, of course we will, and it will give us the opportunity to again go through we're the only party who will help people with their living standards, help people while they're struggling. At the moment.
Not too long to go till June the 5th, so we'll wait till then.